We'll get going. Lots of people are coming in as we roll. Good to see so many of you. All right, so for those of you that don't know me, I'm sure most of you do by now, I'm Allie. I am the director of Fast Pitch at Athletic Sports Group, which is the ownership of Softball Youth, which is why all of you guys are here. Before I took this job in the summer, I was a Division I college softball coach for 10 years. So that's why I'm trying to bring all these awesome people in to give you guys resources to be better softball players and learn about the game and about the space and what you all need to do to take your game to the next level. This is how it's going to go. I'm going to introduce Alicia and Erika. You guys are going to write your questions in the chat box, and that's how you're going to communicate to us. So start thinking while I do our intro. Alicia, say hi.
Hi. Hey guys, how are you?
Everybody should know Alicia. She is in charge of our Softball Youth Elite program, which is pretty special and helps me with our All-American games. Alicia was an All-American at Louisville. For those that aren't from Kentucky, that's the University of Louisville. And she was on the Great Britain national team and actually competed against Erika a few times. Erika, say hi.
Hi guys, so happy to be here.
Erika is currently in Italy. That's where she lives, so that's why we're going a little earlier today, because it's actually 7 p.m. her time. So Erika, thanks so much for being here. I'm going to give all of you guys a little insight on Erika's accomplishments and who she is as an athlete. And I was fortunate enough that I coached against Erika, well, fortunate and also unfortunate enough to coach against Erika for 4 years while she was in college. So I got to suffer firsthand at the wrath of her bat. So Erika's on the Italian national team who qualified for the Olympics by beating our Alicia over there. So she's obviously, sad, but also very excited that the Olympics have been postponed. She will be there. We have some really cool connections to talk about with why this year would have been really special for her to go to. She's a former professional as well for Scrapyard Dogs. She was top 10 National Freshman of the Year finalist her first year, 2-time All-American, Conference Freshman of the Year, and I think the most impressive 4-time Player of the Year. That is so hard to do, you guys, because everyone knows you. People would study in the conference, would study Erika and her swing because they just wanted to get her out. And to be able to repeat that 4 times is really incredible. And just to show, she has the career and single season home run record at McNeese, where she went and finished her career with over a 400 batting average. That is so incredibly impressive. So Erika, thanks again for being here.
Is that good hitting that, or not sure?
Yeah, anybody out there have a 400 batting average right now? No, I didn't think so. Okay, so questions are already really flowing in. So I just want to talk about one little thing before we go, because I think it is so, so cool. Erika, your mom played on the Italian national team, right?
Yes.
Tell everybody a little bit about, her experience and how this past year at the Olympics would have been so cool, and all of that kind of stuff, because I think it's such a beautiful thing.
So my mom played in the 2000 Olympic team for Italy, and they were in Sydney, Australia, and she is a catcher also, so that's where I got my catching from. But it would have been super special to go this year because not a lot of people know this, but the number 20 itself has a huge meaning in my family. My mom was number 20 when she played, especially in the Olympics. She was number 20. My dad was number 20. I have a twin sister, and we were born on June 20th. I'm number 20 currently on the Italian national team, and going to the Olympics this summer would have been 20 years after my mom. So it's kind of like a goosebump feeling, but unfortunately I have to wait another year, but it still has that same effect, and I'm super excited.
Yeah, that's so awesome. I mean, I joked earlier, we were on another call, and I mean, my parents I don't know that they really even played legitimate sports. They both say they did, but I'm not sure that's true. So how awesome that Erika has an Olympian mom, and now she's following in her footsteps. So cool. Okay. Last week we ran out of questions we hardly got to touch anything. So we're going to try to jump right into it. I love that you guys have so many questions. Keep them coming as we go. They can be for Erika specifically. They can be for Alicia and I. They can be about recruiting. They can be about international softball, like whatever you guys have that you want to hear some answers on or talk about, feel free. And if you're more comfortable, feel free to send them to me privately or Alicia privately as well. That's totally cool. A lot of people are doing that. So here's the first one that, Erika, maybe not be for you because you're not as familiar with the youth space now that Alicia and I are. But Alicia, what do you think? Someone asked what a normal is a tough one, tough word to use when you're talking about athletes, right? But what is a normal pitching speed for a 10-year-old? And I think the biggest thing that I'm going to say to that is velocity is going to change so much as your athlete grows and their body changes. And we're going to talk a ton about fitness on this call, I'm sure, because Erika has a really amazing fitness Instagram. She thinks it's funny, but it's really great. So you guys, all of you listening, go search Erika in Instagram and find her fitness page, and it will give you the best indoor workouts ever. So back to the velocity conversation. As your athlete gets more fit, their body changes and they start to train more, their velocity is going to change. So make the focus on being, yes, them going fast in their movements and training at a high speed, but much more about mechanics and
I would have to agree with that. I think at that age, just because that is the, starting age of travel ball, per se, but I would think accuracy is more important than speed at that age, and definitely mechanics, just so you can start fresh and get all that broken down first and then worry about speed as you get older and your body develops more naturally.
We had a kid last year in Texas All-American Games that was a 2028 grad, so a 10U player that hit the low 50s, and she had tremendous velocity. However, we had tons of super successful kids that were also in the high 30s, and they threw a ton of strikes and spotted well. So just such a wide range there. Here's another question. How do you practice developing the skill as a hitter to be able to recognize what pitch is coming at you? Erika, this is an awesome question. What type of vision training, and I can also speak about what we did, and Alicia can speak about some stuff that she's done. Vision training has really started to climb. Did you guys use any sort of tools, or do you still use some vision training tools that help with pitch recognition?
Yeah, we do a lot of drills that you can easily do with just wiffle balls, just getting wiffle balls of different colors, having them toss 2-3 balls at a time, and someone will be like, okay, hit the green one, hit the red one, and you just have to focus in on the color of the ball and try to distinguish which ball to hit. And I think vision training, which I never thought was important until you get to college.
Yes.
And the level gets that much higher that you're just like, okay, I need to figure out what pitch this is and fast. So I think vision training is huge.
Started training vision training several years into my coaching career because it wasn't really a huge thing for a while. And I bought an IPONG, like ping pong machine. It's like $50, best thing I ever did. And I bought colored wiffle balls, and we did
the one that shoots it out.
Yes.
We had that at McNeese. Yeah.
They're awesome. They're awesome. And
it's so frustrating.
So hard. And we would do it sitting and alternate hands, saying colors. We would wear swivel goggles and do it. Swivel goggles are like $30 on Amazon. They cut your vision here. So when you're hitting, you actually have to track all the way in. They're great for ground balls too. So those are really good vision training things. And there's tons and tons of, obviously there's some great resources that you can pay for, but the things that Erika's talking about with colored wiffle balls and having to hit different ones, and anytime you can have a ball coming at you, no matter what type of ball it is or who from, huge eye training benefit, right?
We even did just normal front toss, having it with a 2-seam and 4-seam, and try to distinguish the rotation of the ball. Even just simple things like that. Yeah.
Yep. Alicia, you have any experience with any of that kind of stuff?
Yeah, in college, we definitely had these goggles that would flash.
Yes, those are awesome.
They would go normal. I was trying to think of the name as you were talking, and then they would flash quicker and quicker, and then slower and slower, so you could track the ball. It was pretty much used for fielding. And then we had a whole bunch of different color balls, different size balls, of course, and at different lengths.
And it's interesting because Kaylee asked the question about pitch recognition, but all the things we just mentioned really didn't super specifically talk to pitch recognition, but it talked to training our eyes to seeing balls and seeing different types of balls. And that's really where it starts. And then really the best way to actually see different types of pitches is to do stand-ins, which you guys don't have. Youth space, they don't have a ton of access to, but if your pitchers are saying after to do work, or you know a pitcher that throws once things get back to normal, and you know a pitcher that goes to lessons, ask if you can go and stand in the batter's box. Yes. That's the best way to.
And that helps with a lot of things. That helps with your timing. That helps with pitch recognition, everything. Yeah. And
it's so boring, and I would have to force my kids to do it, but they were always very grateful when I did, you know. That was an awesome question. Okay. Why did you choose This is a great question for Erika, because Erika was a multi-sport athlete. Your sister played college volleyball, correct?
My sister played basketball.
Okay, basketball. So there were other sports that you probably had options to. You're taller. So if you chose to pursue them, maybe you would have been able to. Why did you choose softball, and why are you continuing to play even after college?
I chose softball because out of all the sports that I tried, which I think I've tried them all, I was super into gymnastics at one point. So when I was 12, I actually had to choose between gymnastics and softball, just because the training for both of those just got a lot more consistent, and the money and all that, it was just getting crazy. So I had to pick, and I chose softball because I'm huge on team. I love being a part of a team and being and sharing the field with people. And softball just gives you these emotions when you play. Like when you succeed, you have a high emotion. When you fail, it all teaches you something. And I think everything that you learn with softball helps you in the outside world so much more. Like,
for sure.
Everything I've learned through softball has made me so much stronger as a person, even just in real life, like even in the adult life, when you have to find a real job and get through that. And so I think softball just gives you a variety of lessons to learn. And what was the second question?
Why are you, once you were finished playing in college, why are you choosing to continue to play?
For me, I was blessed with a lot of opportunities to continue to play. And I know not a lot of players get another opportunity after college. But for me, softball is so important, and I enjoy it so much that I can't even really imagine my life without it. So even when I'm done playing, I'm probably still going to be in the softball world, coaching, giving lessons, all of that. It just has a huge impact on me. And so being able to get an opportunity to keep playing, like I'm gonna use that opportunity until I don't have it anymore. And I think if I can play until I'm 35, I will keep playing. So
totally.
That's the prime, right?
Yeah, that is the perfect life. Right.
And I
there.
haven't even hit my prime yet. I think it's time. I should get back in it. No, that's awesome feedback. And I think Alicia and I are pretty good examples, I think, of how you can keep being in softball when your playing career is over. And obviously Alicia also was a college coach for a little while, and she owned a training facility. And so she's dabbled in a bunch of softball related things. And I coached college softball for 10 years, and now I'm doing this. And there's just so many ways that I think young girls don't know that you can stay in the game and be around awesome athletes and still love being in softball when you're done. It doesn't have to end, with your playing career. So awesome. Okay, we have a couple questions coming in about how you got on the Italian team. Alicia, you could talk about how you got on Great Britain. And basically, for the U.S., we have an open tryout system where basically there's a few different locations and people can come and try out and get picked. But there's always a funnel of our junior national team that they play for an international play in the summers, and kind of most of them funnel up that way. Is it the same way in Italy? How did you get started? I mean, your mom obviously did it, so you had a little bit more insight, and you were born in Italy. So you're a citizen. So, talk a little bit about that.
Well, the most important thing is you have to be from Italy or have an Italian passport. So that's the one thing that a lot of people, I always get questions about this, like, can I play on the Italian team if so-and-so is Italian? But the most important thing is having an Italian passport.
But not every nation's guidelines are the same.
Correct.
Yes, not every, it's actually pretty hard to be on the Italian national team if you weren't born in Italy.
Right.
So lucky for me, I was born here. I moved to California when I was 5. But also because of my mom and the people that she knew, that's how I got my name in the mix of it all.
And when did you start playing? When did you get actually involved? How old were you?
2014. So it was the summer going into my freshman year of college. I started on the junior team for Italy just to get some experience with that. I started on the junior team, and I played on the under 19 junior team 2014 and 2015. And then in 2015, I also went from the junior team onto the senior team, which is the team I'm on now. And so I started with the Olympic team in 2015.
Alicia, how about you?
Yeah, so my experience is a little bit different. My mom is born and raised. She was born in London. So Jay Miller, he was the USA softball coach for a little bit. He was actually our volunteer assistant and pitching coach at Louisville.
Yep.
And he obviously coached me and met my mom and said, hey, did you know that you can probably be eligible to play for Great Britain? And I didn't get my European passport until I was a senior in college. So that is how you are eligible to play for Great Britain, is if you have a European passport and if either your grandparents or your parents are from England. So it is a little bit different, and there are countries that have way more strict guidelines for that. And what's funny, Erika, is when you were explaining when you got onto the I always say Team Italia. I can't say Italy. It's always Team Italia. Italia, I started playing when we went to Prague for the European Cup. And then I don't know if we ever faced each other at Worlds in Amsterdam. I cannot remember if we played Italy, but I don't think I played against you until the Olympic trials.
Yeah, I think the European Championship before the Olympic trials, like in Prague, that was the first time we actually played each other.
That's crazy. Yeah. So yeah, I didn't start playing until 2013, and then I think I was like 21 or 22. So, and then I quit for a little bit, and then once softball was placed back into the Olympics, I obviously had to retrain again. So I was off playing for 3 to 4 years and had to retrain for that and come back and try to shoot my dream of being an Olympian. And then we made it to the championship game and lost to this amazing human and her team. So
talk about a little bit, both of you guys, and maybe it might be a little bit different for Erika, because you do have a residence in Italy when you want to be there. What's the training like? Like, once, even before you guys, the teams go to the qualifiers, what's the training like? Are most teams practicing together? I know, Alicia, you are training 100% on your own. What's that look like?
Yeah, so, and I actually I think it's funny reading on social media, a lot of teams right now are really nervous about, well, our team isn't, once everything opens back up and we start playing, our teams haven't been together and we haven't trained together. And I go, well, I
never got to practice with my select team because it was so far. I drove so far that I never practiced with them. Right.
That to coaches who are listening, or to, athletes who have parents listening, that's no excuse. We train from all across the world. And then we had a week together right before the Olympic trials and we almost made it. So it's a whole bunch of accountability with video training. We had training tools that obviously documented what we did, and obviously Zoom chats like this, just very virtual stuff, just a lot what girls are doing right now. So that's how we trained. And then we did a lot of practice games, 2 days, 3 days before the Olympic trials. Yeah.
For our team, you would think we would practice as a team because we're all in Italy, but Italy is actually pretty big as a state, and we're not or as a country, we're not from all the same area. Like, we have a lot of girls are from the Milan, so the northern part, but we have a few girls from down south, from the middle of Italy, and so it's kind of hard to get the whole team to practice every single day. Because I know in the Netherlands, because it's so small, they're allowed to see each other as a team every single day, but we don't have that ability. And so just like Alicia would say, we would meet up a week or two before an important tournament and spend every day of those 2 weeks together and train. But before that, it's all on your own and it's all accountability. I was thankful enough that I was still in college while we were training. So my training was playing in college and having practice every day and lifting. But now that I'm out of college, and this year and last year was my first 2 years out, it was training
Totally
on my
different.
own, which was so different for me. Yeah. And you have to motivate yourself, which is very hard to do. You have to keep yourself accountable, which is why I created the fitness page.
Yeah.
And you just have to do it because it's something that you want to do, and you have to push yourself. And so yeah, the training, I would love to see my team every single day. If we had that, I think that would be the best of both worlds. But unfortunately, you have to train on your own and just stay motivated.
I think it's good for coaches to hear that, though, and parents and you kids watching, like at the highest levels, these athletes are training solo and individually. They don't need a coach telling them what to do 24/7. And I know a lot of you guys are younger, but that doesn't mean you can't start that type of accountability now. So I think that's awesome to talk about. Let's switch gears a little bit to hitting. Erika was an unbelievable hitter. And the most impressive thing about Erika, typically when you hit a ton of home runs, like she did, you have a ton of strikeouts. And 1 year in her college career, she had over 20 strikeouts, which that anybody that knows anything about stats is if you're under 20 strikeouts and you're a meat of the lineup hitter and a power hitter, that is extremely impressive. Talk to me a little bit about how can these guys watching get more power in their swing? What are some drills they can do? What are some things you think about that you like to work when you are trying to increase your power? Talk to them a little bit about that.
So I've always been known as a power hitter when I first started playing. And I think that's because my parents have always taught me to swing hard. No matter what you do, swing hard. If you strike out swinging, I want you to be swinging hard. If you make a weak contact, I want you to be swinging hard. It's just your timing. So I've always had that in the back of my head. So everything I do is at 100% effort, especially when it comes to swinging. And for me, the most important with my swing, the way my swing is set up, is just feeling every motion of my swing and feeling it in my legs. I think the lower half of your body and your core is the most important part of hitting.
I don't think enough people talk about their core. Everyone talks about their legs.
Huge. Yeah.
And don't get me wrong, but that's not where your rotation starts, and that's not where your power starts. It's the trunk of your body. So it's awesome that you mentioned that, because that's a huge thing that most people
and I didn't realize that until college. So
right.
I mean, I didn't even realize really anything until college, because even lifting, I didn't lift in high school. But power, it all comes from your training as well, like just being strong, working on power explosion, firing that back hip when you swing. There's so many things that happen with your lower half and your core that are huge when it comes to hitting. And a lot of people say it all comes down to the bat that you use and the speed of the pitcher.
You can swing a toothpick if you're a good hitter.
The speed of the pitcher helps, but it all comes from you, and it comes from your power and the way you can combine everything into one motion. And I think that's what makes hitting so cool.
Agreed. I think that something that everybody make sure they're muted. Something that's really, really important that I don't think everyone is training well enough, like you said, at a young age, is just go hard. Like you younger kids out there, like don't get on a tee and take 550% swings. Take 50, 100% swings, because that's really what we need to be doing. So when you guys start hitting and you start training and you go with your hitting coaches, if they are not making you stay hyper aggressive on every single swing, then I think you're doing it wrong. It's just my opinion. It sounds like
I think so too.
Yeah, totally. Okay. Let's keep rolling through some of these questions. You guys are doing amazing. There's so many questions in here. This one's interesting. So for you guys, especially for the youth space, try to think about that when you answer this, Erika. What do you think when you're working out, if you had to pick one type of workout to do, whether that be weights, body weight, conditioning, what would you, if they only had the resources to do one thing, what would you choose?
If we're talking youth, like younger girls that are just getting started, and lifting probably isn't the best thing for their body at the moment,
right.
The best thing I think is agility.
Yeah.
Just being cautious of your footwork, your speed, your explosiveness, running, all of that is super important, because you could be talented, you could have all the power, but if you don't have any agility or any range of motion, and you're not an athlete, like being an athlete is so much more than just power and talent.
Yeah, I forgot to mention Erika also stole over 20 bases a year. So she was that kid that could hit she was the kid that could hit the ball far but also run fast. So
yeah, she's like not the triple threat, she's like the quadruple.
But yeah, I think agility is just important. So just focusing on the little footwork, the drills that you probably think might be annoying, like the ladder work,
cones.
That's just super important for your footwork. It's important for your cardio. It's important for everything. And it has a lot to do with softball, I think.
And all of the girls on here, no matter how young you are, I see some really young ones on the call, which is amazing. All of you guys can do body weight stuff. All of you guys can do body weight squats, push-ups, sit-ups. There's all these challenges out there. AJ Andrews, if you guys don't know who she is, you all should. AJ Andrews has she was an All-American at LSU and unbelievably fast and just incredible
player.
Yeah,
if you want to see someone fast, that's AJ Andrews for sure.
Fair. But she has a really unbelievable ab workout that she's been posting on her social media. So if you guys want some ideas for some body weight stuff, like check out AJ too. She's killing it on that kind of stuff. Here's 2 questions about mental side, which I know Erika and I talked about earlier, and she's really into this kind of stuff. Give the girls some insight on what your like mental approach is for games. Like what do you do before the game, and how do you stay focused for the entire game from start to finish? Because sometimes softball games can get long.
For me, I think being a catcher I had to stay focused no matter what I was doing, just because catcher, you're so involved, every pitch you're involved. And so that kept me focused a lot. But I think mentally, like I just try to keep it as simple as possible. I'm not someone that would have to think about something before hitting. The less I thought when I was in the box, the better I was. So
totally.
I would just keep it simple, see ball, hit ball, not try to do too much. My parents always taught me that the time to think about mechanics and to think about your swing and your fielding is at practice. Once you get in the game, that's all trust in your process and trust that you did everything to your best ability, and you just let it show. Like you just let your body do what it knows to do, and then you fix it at practice. But once you get mechanical and you start thinking too much in a game, that's when it gets tough mentally.
Totally.
Yeah, and I think like your confidence comes from also not half training. You know, you give 100% in your training, you give 100% in your swings, and your mental side, you know, you can't shy away from how honest and how true you really did train. So that's a huge testament of you just training on your own and being able to do that for sure.
Totally. Here's a really good catching specific one. Colby, good to see you on here, girl. What is a good pop time to have when you're in college? And I'm going to take a stab. Erika's was definitely low 1.6s consistently. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. That is the real deal. I think, and Erika, you can answer what you see consistently at the Division I level. You can see everything from low 1.6s, which is about as good as it gets, to really into the 1.9s. I mean, some catchers, pop times, maybe they have a really strong arm, but they're not as fast getting rid of it, but they can get away with it. So it just depends. To be recruited, you definitely have to be under a 2. Yeah. But I think the sweet spot, as long as you're in the comfortably in 1.8s, I think you really can get away with throwing out a lot of people.
I was going to say 1.8. I see consistently 1.8. When I see below 1.8,
that's high level stuff.
That's high level. And especially if you're consistent with it.
Well, and this is interesting too. The way that Erika throws down, and I had a catcher who was very, very small, didn't have tremendous velocity, but got rid of the ball extremely fast and literally threw sidearm and had and Bryn, she had in the 1.6s too. And she did it completely different than any other catcher out there, but it worked for her. So that's another thing to think about too, is just figure out what works for you and be really awesome at it.
It might not be the prettiest thing, but if it gets the ball to second base as fast as you can possibly get it there, then that's what works. If you can get the fast girls out, like if for me, like, I got excited, it never happened all the time, but if AJ Andrews, every time she got on, I wanted her to steal. I'm like, I want you to steal. I want to test my arm out. I want to see if I can get you out. And in the game, it also always depends on what pitch is thrown. Like,
of course.
If you have to block, all this stuff. But the faster you can get your footwork and your arm and your throws down consistently, the better.
I think a really, really great person to look at when you're talking about catching mechanics on throwdowns, whether it be from your knees or your feet, is Aubrey Monroe. She does everything right. So that's a really...
She's consistent. Like, her motion is the same every single time.
So that's somebody for all you catchers out there to check out and Google and watch videos on her, because she's got some really, really great stuff.
It's so interesting, Erika, all these catching questions when I see you playing like third, outfield, being like...
I played outfield at the Olympic qualifier.
You did? That's hysterical.
With a cast on.
So
I had a broken wrist, yeah.
And she played.
Hear that? Everybody hear that? She had a broken wrist and she played.
Yes.
It's pretty amazing. But Erika did struggle with a few small injuries throughout college, and had some knee trouble that she was the starting catcher. And then your sophomore or junior year, you went to third most of the time.
I had a lot of hip problems. I have hip and IT band issues just because of an injury I had when I was younger. But I caught freshman year, sophomore year, and I'm pretty sure like junior year and on, I played mainly third, just because we didn't have a third baseman, and we had a very good our other catcher was also very talented. Yeah, so we got lucky with that. Yeah. And so then I got flexible, and I played third and catcher, which is also why it's very important to play more than one position when you're trying to go to college, just so you have a reason to be on the field at all times.
Well, I think Alicia's a great example of that. Alicia grew up as mind you, Alicia's huge. She's 6 foot. What 6 foot what, Alicia?
I'm a 6 foot avatar, basically.
So she was a slapper.
Yep.
And played the outfield.
And was like this big.
And when she got to college, she became a first baseman power hitter.
Yep.
And that's what she's most known for, is her power. And she was a slapper. So your game will change so much. Yes. And then your coaches will change it for you when you get to college, whether you like it or not. And they'll also probably change your position. So being flexible. And I remember I was on a recruiting, I played shortstop. And I did some moonlighting as a catcher when necessary. But I remember this was a huge mistake I made. I was on a phone call with a coach, and they told me that they wanted me to play second base. And I thought that was the most horrible thing I had ever heard in my entire life, because I was a shortstop. I couldn't dare go to second base. And I didn't cross them off my list, but it really hurt. It hurt me that they thought that of me. That was a downgrade, and that was so crazy. So just think about those types of things when you guys are training and you're playing. Like, be able to do everything and be that athlete that can do multiple things. Here's a great one. When's a good time to start taking video clips and highlights for recruitment? Yesterday was a good day to start taking highlight clips. Now, all of you guys, even the little ones, now is an unbelievable time for you guys to get outside, get on the tee, and video yourself. Not only for recruiting reasons, but for training reasons. Like, you guys have all of these unbelievable resources. There are tons of very cheap and some free apps that you can use to look at your swing and stuff like that. All of you, especially with how much time we have now, should be out there taking some video, don't you think?
Yeah, it's crazy what you see on video that you probably don't even notice that you're doing. I'm a very visual learner, and so I always recorded myself, especially in college. We watched so much film, and you just see little things that you film. Just so much film. So start learning now. Start learning now how to watch film because you're going to do it a lot in college.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. So, I mean, really now, and if you don't, for all of you guys, especially any of you 7th grade and up, if you don't have a softball specific social media platform, then you need to start one. You need to have a softball only Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, all 3. And if I'll tell you right now, as a college coach, when I would Google somebody and I saw that their social media was private, that was a huge red flag that you guys have something to hide. So be very, very careful about what you're putting out there, and make sure that you're putting on your social media what you would want your grandma and a college coach to see, because that is a really huge deal now.
Yeah, going back to the video, you know, with me giving lessons, all my kiddos, and I know some of you guys might kind of like laugh and smirk, and they're like, Mom, Dad, quit videoing me, stop.
No,
I'm not
yeah,
do
don't
well,
do that.
you know? And they would get embarrassed on their swings, but it's, you know, really embrace that. One, you're very lucky to have someone to record you, but those are times in videos that you might see, one, to see how far you've come, because everyone loves progress, pictures, videos, or anything, and you can look at it and learn your mechanics and learn from that swing, or if you're looking to improve in other parts of your swing. So parents, keep videoing, because trust me, during these times, they probably wish they had more video to watch and analyze.
And every coach in the world would rather see practice footage than game footage.
Right.
I would so much rather see you go outside in your backyard and hit 5 balls off of the tee than send me 16 game at bats. You can just see so much more. So now's the time, like do those things. And
definitely.
Something, now that we're kind of on a recruiting talk here, there's a lot of people that we have to definitely touch on some of your favorite catching drills, because there's a lot of people that want to talk about that. But let's roll with recruiting for just a minute. Sophia asked, what do you look for when recruiting? And I think, Erika, you've played with a lot of really good softball players. Alicia, you obviously have as well at a bigger school. And I coached for a very long time. So I'll go. And then you guys can kind of talk about what are the things, like when you guys would host camps, what are the things that would really stick out about certain athletes, right? But my biggest thing, and anyone that has seen my teams play, I think they would say the same thing. I like athletes that can do a lot of things and play a lot of positions. And I like kids with swag. I think that you can't teach that type of confidence. And I want to be around girls who love playing softball, because I love softball. So I just want to be around a bunch of ballers that want to get dirty and like just love practicing and like don't complain about it. So for me, the best answer would be athletes that are fit and mobile and can do a lot of things and have that confidence that you just can't teach.
For me, when we would have clinics and camps at McNeese, it's crazy how much you can tell when a person comes that is excited and wants to learn, and when someone comes because their parents force them. Like, I can read it all over your face. And I think, so that's the biggest flag for me, was just like attitude and the want to actually learn and get better and be coachable. I think that was huge for me, is just because if I would see girls that just were kind of dragging their feet and not hustling, and you could just tell that they weren't excited to be there, it just kind of took my attention off of them, and I would go on to the next girl. And so totally. I think even if you're not doing it on purpose, just have that like check yourself a little bit and make sure that you're there with the right attitude, because if you could be the most talented person, but if you don't catch that coach's eye with your attitude and your effort, then they're just going to hop on to the next one.
Yep. That's great advice. Alicia, what about you?
I think it's definitely about you showing up. It's kind of like a job interview, you know.
Yes.
Like if you come in with your shirt untucked, you got your Ugg boots on, you got
Mom's carrying your backpack.
Mom's carrying your backpack. I think
you're on your phone.
On your phone. On your phone.
In the back pocket.
Oh my God.
Yes. You know, and I mentioned this last week, and the McDonald's Cup thing, you know, coaches want to see a young woman, not a kid. they want to see a athlete being able to evolve into something great and being able to hopefully handle it on your own. And again, I said this before, because mommy and daddy can't come with you to college, unfortunately. You know, you have to be able to be on your own and see if you can be a responsible young lady and respectful. So, because at the end of the day, you're not representing just like your travel ball team, you're representing a whole city or a whole university. So I think that really shows when you show up to tournaments and camps to be able to show, you know, I'm a professional.
Well, and I think Jessica asked a really awesome question here that goes with recruiting and also like the situation we're in now. Like, what do you recommend to current juniors? I'm going to stretch that though, really to anybody in a recruitable age, which to me is basically 7th grade and up. What can we do during this pandemic with all the tournaments and camps canceled? For juniors specifically though, Jessica, I will tell you, this fall, you are going to have to get going. Yeah. Any camp you can possibly get there. Yeah, and I know that financially it's going to be really tough. So you're going to, as an athlete, you're going to have to really be specific about who you choose and where you want to be and guarantee there are certain coaches there and put yourself in positions where you can be recruited and be successful. But like, there are so many kids, there are so many high school girls out there that have business-like social medias that are driving themselves so much recruiting traffic because they're doing the right things. They're posting videos, they're doing fitness, they're learning nutrition. Right now is an unbelievable time to get in the kitchen with your parents and learn how to fuel your bodies. I suck at cooking. And I'm so mad at myself for it. Now I have 2 children and I'm trying to make them healthy and I'm not great at it. And I wish I could. Now's like a great time to get out there and do it. All right. Okay. Hey, here we go. There are tons and tons of catching questions on here as far as drills. Why don't you give us, Erika, give us a high level drill for some of our older, more skilled catchers that you think they would really love. Correct me if I'm wrong, Erika, but what do you think is the most, for getting recruited purposes, what's the most important part of a catcher, of their skill set?
In game or just in general? Because
like here's my example.
When I look at catchers when they're playing, what really catches my eye is how they receive the ball and if they're helping their pitcher out.
Totally.
Like if I see too much movement, I can't even watch it. Like there's so many different ways to catch, and I know a lot of people get taught different things, but for me, it's just like as a catcher, you're pretty much there to make your pitcher look good.
Right.
Like you're not like, it's the most selfless position because you're there for the pitcher. Like the pitcher is going to pitch it and you have to make her look good no matter if she hits her spots or not. And so I was always taught, like, you want to be quiet as a catcher. You just want to be there and just show the pitches. And so I think the biggest thing is just your receiving is just how silent and how easy you can make receiving look.
Totally.
And then the next thing is just transfer, like the motion from like this to your ear, like that's the faster you can get that, then you're set. Like you could have the worst throw, but if you're fast to get there, then.
So do you have any receiving drills that you like that you think would be really good for these guys?
Yeah, my favorite drill that I do to this day is with tennis balls. Like you can even do this at home now. You just get in your squat position and you have someone toss you tennis balls and you catch it with just these 3 fingers.
Awesome.
Which are your clampers, and you just catch them and you just are easy with it. Like you let the ball come in. You're not stiff when you're catching it. You just kind of let the ball come in and you receive it where the ball is pitched. That's the best drill, and it really works your fingers. It works your hands, and it helps you receive a lot. And then another drill is just transferring. Same thing with the tennis ball. Is just someone tossing and you just transfer it as fast as you can.
So a little alteration to what Erika just said about drills to the ear. That is where she throws from. Mm-hmm. So that's what makes sense for her. I started teaching a lot of chest transitioning because 2 reasons. 1, the ball is much faster in your bare hand than it is in your glove. right? So if we get the ball to our bare hand immediately when you receive, then you can do whatever you need to with your throwing hand.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes you have to throw from under your shoulder. Sometimes you can throw from over top. It's so dependent on pitches and body movements and where your catcher throws from, right? So some variations that I do when I do receiving drills is to wherever that ball is received from, that's where I like to get it into the bare hand. So some things to think about that figure out how to work for that catcher, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
And another really good receiving drill that I like, the hardest pitch to receive is low in, right? It's very hard to get to. You young guys might be flexible, but the older you get, the harder it is to get to that pitch. And something that you could definitely do now that I really loved is using a baseball, because it has a little more weight. So it's a little bit, tennis balls pop out of your hand a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And you are in your squat and you have someone stand above you and drop it, and you try to get your thumb underneath it and catch it at the lowest point to the ground.
Yep. That's great. That's a great drill. It's
tough. And you can do bouncing off a wall as well. And it's fun. Like the bouncing off the wall one, if you have someone stand behind you, you don't know where the pitch is going to be and come from. So that's pretty fun too. So there's a couple good receiving drills. All right, how are we doing on time? Okay, awesome. We have about 15 minutes, so we can keep rolling through these questions. You guys are doing awesome. And hey, I wanted to bring up a catching example for all you catchers out there. All of you should Google Julie Rawls, R-A-W-L-S. She actually started playing in the conference that Erika played in and I coached in, and now she is at Louisiana Lafayette. She is a lifetime outfielder. She is a lefty. She has never caught a day in her life, and now she is an all-region catcher at Louisiana Lafayette. Guesses why? She has a hose. She couldn't receive, she couldn't block, and nobody cares because she has a 75-mile-an-hour arm.
Wow.
So it's just a good example.
She's an athlete.
Yeah.
She can play multiple positions. That's why it's important.
Totally. And she's never caught a day in her life. And when she got there, Jerry said, okay, like you're catching, you have a great arm. So it's just a pretty cool example of how you can do things at such a high level that you never thought you'd be able to do,
Right. I have a direct question for me, and I think I'm really curious, Erika, on what you are going to say to this. But who inspired you as a young athlete? And I know you talked about your mom, but besides your mom, did you have an athlete that you looked up to?
When I was younger, I loved Stacy Newsman. I don't know if it was because of my mom, but my mom was a catcher. And so her going to the Olympics, she competed a lot against Stacy Newsman, just same position, different teams. And so ever since the Olympics that she went to, after that, Stacy Newsman, her thighs, like all of that, I was just like, I want to be her. Like, I want to be powerful like her. I want to have my legs look like hers. So she was a huge role model for me just because same position. She was a very powerful, strong athlete. And I just loved just the way she played. She had swag. She had a powerful swing. She was all around a really good player.
Yeah.
And so that's someone I looked up to besides my mom.
Alicia, do you have one? Who is yours?
I mean, Crystal Bustos is like I'm all about like power, and I think there was something beautiful in the way you said like a woman's like, being powerful and like her legs, I just like love feeling strong and I like being strong. So I love that. And of course, Jessica Mendoza, she's just like,
oh my gosh, stud.
So
it's like that team at that time, that USA team at that time,
right,
is just literally you can find 1 through 9. All those players were just
you guys. The sad part is most of you guys watching probably don't know who some of these girls are that we're talking about. But listen, here's a great example. We had a softball youth elite event in Disney, okay? And Francesca Aneo was our guest speaker.
Yes.
And she is one of the most prolific college hitters to ever be in the game. She was one of the first girls to have a baseball swing and just set the stage for so many unbelievable things moving forward. She played for Florida, All-American, just a really all-around unbelievable student athlete, like a perfect example of what you should want to be when you get to college. And most of the girls that were at that event didn't know who she was. And you guys, like, I love Sis Bates as much as the next person, but there were so many unbelievable softball players before her that allowed Sis to even be who she is now. And it's really important for all of you guys. You're all here because you think you want to play at the next level. You think you're good softball players. You want to be good softball players. But if you don't know where the sport came from, then you guys have no idea where you're going to want to be. So I just really encourage you to like look into that kind of stuff and look at players from the past and learn from them.
The way without these amazing women, we wouldn't have this sport, and we wouldn't have, you know, pros. And that's why the Olympics were just going to be such a cool thing for these girls and these young athletes to look up to. And that's why, Erika, I was so excited for you to come on, because you are what these girls now can look for and look forward to in 2021. So yeah, it's a sad time, but I hope it happens. So
totally. Erika, what was your major?
Exercise science.
Okay, tell the girls what that what that means.
Exercise science is a bunch of things put together pretty much, but it's you learn a lot about your body, the way it works, the way it functions. You learn a lot about your movements, your muscle movements, the way your muscles react. It's a lot to do with fitness and anatomy, I want to say. So it's just like a vague version of like, because I went into college wanting to be a doctor. I don't know. I think it was Grey's Anatomy. I watched too much of it. I wanted to be a doctor. Got to college. That was not my road. But I love the body and I love the way it works. And exercise science allows you to learn all that in the sports field. Totally. So it's a lot of kinesiology, physical training, rehab, if that's what you're into. You just pick little like routes of exercise science that are more specific to what you like. But exercise science is the name of like the general idea of what you're learning.
Super common major for athletes too, because it is about the body and it is about training, and so many athletes like that.
And that's that was
your major, right?
Yeah, exercise science was my major, and you know, and it's what's weird is I didn't really want to go into physical training or being a strength coach, anything like that. It was at the time I wanted to do speech pathology, and a lot of those prereqs in that major were for that. But again, my life just changed, and I decided to go play overseas and do all that. So it's a good major if you want to get into the medical field for sure, and still stick with sports 100%.
Totally. And I was a journalism major and have a master's in communication, so I'm nowhere close to any of those guys. Okay, guys, so listen, we have to wrap up. It's been almost an hour. We have flown through this and had so many questions we didn't get to touch. Next week, we have a 2-for-1 that is such a big deal. We'll be emailing out that link really soon. We are going to have Taylor Schlopey and Alex Hugo, both Georgia All-Americans, some of the most fun softball players to watch in NCAA history. I can promise you that. And if you love eye black, you will love this one. And they are unbelievable hitters. They train. It's going to be really good, and it's 2 of them, and Alex now plays for the national women's baseball team, and she was sportswoman of the year last year. Just some really cool stuff, and we have a really, really, really big time name coming very, very soon, so it's pretty exciting. But Erika, you are amazing, and thank you so much for giving your time to these guys for free. The fact that Softball Youth is doing this for you guys for free as a free resource is really special. So thank you
guys so much for having me. This is a blast. I love talking about softball. I love sharing my knowledge. So thank you guys for watching and listening.
Yeah,
you guys,
definitely.
Make sure you follow Erika's fitness page on Instagram. It's amazing. I'm serious.
Yeah, and before we go, Erika, do you want to touch a little bit about your live training and what you're going to offer soon?
Yeah, so right now they're creating the website, so it's not quite ready yet, but soon I will be a coach on a virtual website that will teach pretty much, it'll give you the ability to get lessons with me through the computer. So I can't physically be everywhere. So this helps a lot of, especially international players, but just because I travel a lot, this will help me mostly, but you can do lessons. I can analyze your swing. We can have one-on-one mental talk, Zoom meetings, just like everything that has to do with softball it will allow that on this website. And so I'm super excited about it. They already have a baseball side, and they're just now getting the softball side ready.
The best part about that, you guys, if you have the ability to do this, is Erika is really, really, really good with video. I know it was super important to her when she was playing, and really learned how to use all the tools out there for video breakdown. So even if it's just getting with her and having her look at your swing and break it down, she's very, very good at it. So it would be an awesome tool. We're going to put I just saw someone ask, we're going to put some of that stuff, once that's final and Erika's ready to roll, we'll put that out for her from.
Yeah, and it'll be on social media as soon as it's ready. It'll be blasted everywhere. So keep a lookout for that for sure.
Yeah, make sure you follow her to keep up with the updates on that for sure.
You guys, thanks so much for being here and sticking it out. Stay safe.
Thank you guys.